So I was raised in a Mennonite cult just outside of Steinbach. I kind of feel like there should have been a segue in there somewhere, but I forgot to put that in. Well, it wasn't all fun and games, okay? I was bullied in school the first couple of years. First 2 years, there was this kid who was like 2 years older than me. He would chase me around the yard, give me noogies and wedgies and call me names and steal my lunch. It was horrible. It was terrible. Even my dad finally said, "This is not working. Maybe homeschooling is not the best idea." So then they sent me to the church school, which was better. I wasn't bullied. I got in trouble with the teachers a lot, though, mostly for my schoolwork. We had to write a short story. They asked us to write a short story, a fictional short story, but set in the Garden of Eden. So I wrote a story about how Adam was not the first human God created. He was actually the third. The first human God created was Carl. He formed Carl out of the dust of the earth and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and Carl became a living soul. But Carl was only 2 months old when God created him, and then he had no parents, and God left him in the garden all by himself. And when he came back 20 minutes later, Carl was gone. God looked everywhere and was like, oh, fucking dingoes. I should have made a grown-up. So then he made Doug. Same deal, formed Doug anyway. Doug woke up, looked around, went, "Holy crap, what is this?" And God said, "Hey, Doug." And Doug said, "Who are you?" And God said, "Oh, God, I just created you out of dirt." And Doug said, "That's what I feel like. How old am I?" And God said, "Well, I wanted you to be grown up, so I made you 4,000 years old." And Doug said, "Oh, for fuck's sake," and then he died because he was 4,000 years old, and the average life expectancy at that time was 2 months and 20 minutes. So I got like an F on that paper. I didn't know why. I asked the teacher why not. She said, "Well, it's not a real story. It's just fantasy. It's just stuff you made up." And I said, "Oh, forgot to put in the talking snakes." But the real trouble I got into, the worst trouble, was definitely in sex ed class, where which was basically a class where they asked us, what does the Bible say about fornication? What does the Bible say about adultery? What does the Bible say about masturbation? And I said, "Oh, I know that one." And they said, "Well, that was a trick question. The Bible doesn't say anything about masturbation." And I said, "Well, I think it does. If you look in Matthew chapter 6, verse 3, Jesus gives you pointers on how to do it. You can look it up." So the teacher looked it up, and he read it out to the class. And it's true. Matthew chapter 6, verse 3 says, "Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." The other things they taught us that sex is evil, and it causes sexually transmitted diseases and way too many cousins. And it's basically gross and disgusting, which, I mean, let's be honest, if you're doing it right, it is. Right? Like if you have sex and you roll over afterwards and you go, "Oh, that was great," I'm going to suggest it wasn't that great. Because if it was really great, you'd roll over afterwards and you'd go, "Oh my God, that was gross and disgusting. I can't believe I just did that." And you'd feel like you should jump out of bed and run up the street to the cathedral and confess what you just did to the nearest pedophile in a house coat and a silly hat. Yeah, ooh. That's walking on the edge a little, isn't it? I told that joke last week at a show where one of my Catholic friends was there, and he said to me after the show, he said, "You're going to go to hell for that joke." And I said, "No, I don't think I will." And he said, "Well, purgatory at least." And I said, "No, I don't think so." And he said, "Why? That's exactly the kind of thing that God would send you to hell for." And I said, "Yeah, but every time I do that joke on my way home, I stop by the cathedral and I confess to the nearest pedophile in a house coat and a silly hat."